Hi, my name's Dr. Jared Law-Penrose, and I'm a professor of management, leadership, and HR here in the Madden School of Business at Moyne College. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my research. The last few years have been nothing if not a bit chaotic. Well, let's face it, maybe a lot chaotic. A quick look at the news, conversation with some friends, it's pretty obvious the world's changed quite a bit in a short amount of time, especially the world around work. With the massive shift to remote work kind of necessitated by COVID to keep employees safe, many businesses and organizations, they're left wondering how can we keep our employees engaged in their jobs? Believe me, it's not an easy task. However, some research does give us a few insights into the ways that leaders can help their employees stay connected. One of the studies that my co-authors and I have recently published in Personnel Psychology looked at the impact of a leader's affective state on aspects of the employee's performance. In other words, what happens when you show up to work grumpy? One of the things that we found is that employees interpret the leader's mood, which in turn impacts the employee's performance, which in turn impacts the leader's behavior toward the employee, right? In other words, we kind of get this spiral. So when the leader shows up grumpy, the employee doesn't perform well, and in turn, the leader doesn't provide much support to that employee. While it's unreasonable to expect organizational leaders to show up to work every day with a Pollyanna attitude, believe me, I don't show up to work every day with a Pollyanna attitude, especially in light of stress, anxiety, uncertainty that have resulted from COVID and just life in general. There are, though, some small behavioral changes that leaders can engage in that can stop that cycle before it starts. So one such small change might be for leaders to take a short time, 30 seconds to a minute, to simply be mindful of their emotional state before they walk through the door of the office or log on to Zoom. Beyond this, there are certainly lots of other ways that leaders can foster engagement with employees. For example, in another study, we found that training supervisors to just simply recognize the non-work demands of their employees, things like employees' kids being in quarantine, or the challenge of working from home at the same time you got school going on, or the dog barking in the background, or a pot boiling over, or whatever it might be, or the illness of a relative. That when a leader engages with their employees around that and simply asks, right, about how that employee's life is going, that leaves the employee feeling engaged and connected to their job. Some of my current research is exploring the specific behaviors that leaders can engage in, even when they're not co-located with their employees, right? In other words, how do we train leaders to connect over Zoom and through email with their employees in a meaningful way? So here's my shameless plug for research partners. If you or your organization is interested in piloting some trainings and gathering some data, let me know. These types of questions really get to the core of my research. How can businesses and organizations help their employees feel a sense of belongingness and connectedness to the world around them? For me, it really is a question of vocation and meaning. When we feel connected to those around us, it's much easier to see the role we play in creating a better world. From my religious tradition, I think about this as bringing about the kingdom of God. That when we're connected to one another, it's much easier to be connected to a higher calling of redeeming the world around us, using knowledge, skills, abilities, the other gifts that we have, the things we've learned in college. And working in the Madden School at Moyne College, I love that my research makes its way into my classrooms, be it traditional in-person settings or via Zoom. If you talk with my students, they'll tell you this, that we start class the same way every day. Great day to be alive. Great day to be here. Where else would you rather be? To make sure that I'm giving due credit, this isn't my statement. This is something that I picked up from my dissertation chair, Dr. Brad Alge at Purdue. But it's such a wonderful question that helps me as a professor pause to take just that few seconds and remember that despite my feelings in that moment, that it's a gift and a responsibility to connect with my students as I expose them to challenging and often ambiguous questions with no clear answer. We then typically will spend a couple of minutes talking about life outside of class. I might share a picture of my weekend hike or my kid's sporting event or whatever else I happen to be doing that last weekend. And then my students have a chance to tell me about their upcoming sporting event, right? Their game they're playing, or a concert they plan to attend, or a weekend trip they just took. These moments in the classroom are so invaluable in creating a connected and trusting environment. And it's this environment that allows us to explore the business challenges that come up in leadership management and HR classes. Rather than focusing on identifying the right answer to a scenario, when my students feel connected, they focus on identifying the implications and consequences for a variety of right answers. So hey, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you're interested in my research, you want to sit in on one of my classes, please reach out. I really would love to connect with you. Be kind, do good work, call someone you